Queenslander! Yeah. Yeah, there it is. I've been training that with the help of my good Australian friend in chat, Minimum Volt's help. You see, a lot of my chatters here, for some reason, are Australian, which is very bizarre considering how much I like to dunk on Australia, both as a landmass, a nation, and a people, and a culture. But somehow, I still have a shit ton of Australian fans, and those same Australian fans demand constantly that I check out the, probably the most political, or most influential political YouTuber in Australia, Friendly Geordies. Did I do it right? Did I hit the accent right? I'm trying. I'm getting there. Now, I've seen a few of the guy's videos, and they're quite funny. If you watch a lot of Australian YouTubers, then you can kind of put together what Australian YouTuber humor is like, and I do find it quite funny. One of my favorite YouTubers is Stimpy, who's also a Queenslander, which is pretty cool. And also very, very gay, at least as far as everything he says in his videos go. Go watch his videos to know what I'm talking. Hold on. Actually, no, I'm not just gonna tell you to go watch his videos. Let me bring up the works of art that are this guy's thumbnails. I've showed this guy's thumbnails before, but, if you can't tell, whenever he plays a game, he pretty much takes a screenshot from gay porno and then uses Photoshop to edit clothing onto it to make it safe for work and fit in with the game that he's playing. I've been begging Cherry to make my thumbnails like this for a while, to start, taking scenes from gay porn, edit Ben Shapiro's face onto it, and then, make it safe for work for the thumbnail, so it's, Ben Shapiro in a suit, but he's getting bent over by, a big, burly bear dude, and he's going, and that's the thumbnail. I've been begging Cherry to do that, and to make all my thumbnails like that, but they just won't do it. Cherry's response is always, Zan, do you know how much gay porn I'd have to dig through to do that? I'd constantly have to look at gay porn all day, every day. You gotta pay me more for that, Zan. I'm like, Cherry, you've already got 50 Bugattis. What do you expect from me here? Anyway. This bit went a little further than I was expecting it to. Regardless, Friendly Geordies is without a doubt one of the most, influential political figures in Australia, and my Australian viewers have been begging me to watch a Friendly Geordies video, so that is what we're going to be doing today. So yeah, we're going to be checking this out. Now, recently, Friendly Geordies has become the target of some, bizarre, shady, dark money, fucking Illuminati right-wing cabal bullshit going after him, to the extent that he has had his house firebombed. I believe he has had multiple assassination attempts. The firebombing was one, but I believe that it's not the only assassination attempt he's had. He's had at least one attempt to falsely arrest him and his friends, I believe. He has been the target of the conservative government and the liberal government, frankly. He's anti-establishment and a lot more left-wing than the establishment government of Australia, so he gets targeted by the establishment, liberals, as you would say here in America a lot, too. The Australian equivalent. But as far as the firebombing and shit, yeah. He angered the premier, which is, DeSantis, Xanderhall. Yeah, think of Queensland as Australia's Florida. It's where all the bogans live. The bogans are basically Australian rednecks, okay? So Queensland is Australian flyover country, where all the bogans live, the Australian rednecks. That's basically the comparison to America I can make for my American viewers. That's my best understanding of Australia, okay? But we're gonna watch this Friendly Geordies video to learn more about it. This specifically is about who firebombed Friendly Geordies. I'm very excited to find out about this because he lives in New South Wales. Yes, I know, but I was talking Oh yeah. I was talking about Queensland because that's where Minimum Volts is from. Sorry. There are like 4 fucking provinces or whatever they're called in Australia. Okay. Center of Australia's flyover each state's coast is populated. That is true. Like Queensland's coast is gorgeous. Watch YBS Youngbloods to find out what the fuck I'm talking about. Okay. Queensland has a gorgeous coast. The water is amazing. Like the wildlife on the coast, gorgeous. That's where I want to like eventually visit. Anyway, New South Wales is like where Sydney is and all the big shit. Yeah, that's where our boy Friendly Jordies is. Regardless, Australia, I don't know all that much about it. I know it's big. I know it's dangerous. And I know that they talk funny. Let's find out who firebombed Friendly Jordies. I hope they catch the motherfucker. I hope he catches the motherfucker. I hope he personally inflicts what the firebomber wanted to do to him onto the firebomber. That is all I will say in Minecraft. This is the house that got firebombed. I remember this because we saw the video about it. Yeah, so it, like, legit got firebombed. Like, bad fire damage.
Hello. It's been a quiet few months. Late one night last November, my house was firebombed.
A fiery message that's hard to miss.
Police are tonight hunting an arsonist who targeted the home of controversial Friendly Jordies YouTube blogger Jordan Shanks. It's the second time the property has been firebombed in a week.
Obviously, we've done some extremely dangerous reporting over the last year, I suppose, of a bunch of extremely powerful people and corporations. There is many people that would want to do that.
The main thing to keep in mind is how prevalent manufacturing consent is. Murdoch is all our media. Most media is Fox News. Yeah, like Sky News is the big news thing in Australia, like the biggest one, and it's run by Rupert Murdoch. It's just Fox News Australia, essentially, right? Huh.
No one has the record that he has for doing some hard-hitting journalism, and this is his payday. Someone's trying to kill him.
In what I now know was a premeditated attack that at best was intended to terrify me and at worst was intended to kill me. But the firebombers, they forgot to take one thing into account. I'm very disorganised. The night that happened, I was supposed to be sleeping here. I don't even have smoke alarms, so there's a very good chance that if I was, I could have ended up like the content you're watching right now. Fire. But I wasn't here because that week I was performing my live show in Melbourne and I forgot my keys while I was down there. So there, criminals outwitted. It reminds me of that quote, if we don't...
He lucked out. He lucked out for not being there. He was supposed to be there, and because of inconvenience, wasn't there when his house was firebombed. And he would have been asleep with no smoke detectors. Main thing is the Australian paper. People read the paper a lot in Australia. I bet there's a very large boomer population. Probably a lot of those motherfuckers in Australia still reading the newspaper.
Don't know what we're doing, then the enemy certainly can't anticipate our future actions. So I was sleeping somewhere else that night with the firebombers' mums. But I will admit, the firebombers did succeed in terrifying me, and I've spent the last couple of months doing 2 things apart from the firebombers' mums. That's hiding and ruminating. This video is a culmination of that rumination. This is an explanation of who could have possibly have done this to such a small, relatively unknown Australian YouTuber.
Dude, I know it's completely illegal, but if I were Friendly Jordies at this point, my new place would be hooked up with traps like Bill's compound in The Last of Us. I would have tripwires that would set off like knife spike drop downs and like pitfalls and security cameras, and like, because it's Australia, I don't know what their gun laws are like, so I'm assuming just no guns are even a possible option. Just like taping a bunch of knives together with the handles all in the center to make a giant knife ball, chaining, like putting a chain on it and setting it to swing like down in certain areas if they step on the wrong floorboard, shit like that. I did a thing, set up a turret for him. Wait, really? That's really funny. I did a thing. If that, I would believe that. If that's real, I'd believe it. Depends on the area. If you live in the outback, the laws are fairly lax on account of the terrain out to kill you. Yeah, I feel like if you live in the outback of Australia, you should have, like, a gun, riot armor, a riot shield, medicine and meds, like a tank, omnidirectional mobility gear, and a rocket launcher. Yeah, like a Mad Max vehicle. Yeah, I feel like you should be afforded all the survival equipment you could possibly need if you're gonna be one of the brave motherfuckers surviving in the Australian outback.
And hey, if that sounds too dry, well, you kids like Knives Out or whatever, stick around. It's a pretty interesting whodunit.
Does he know?
Sorry, we're going to have to film the rest here because the asbestos was getting to us. Just in case you didn't know, I'm Australian. I'm from the great state of New South Wales, home to over 8 million people.
Wait, I was close. This is Queensland right here, isn't it? They literally touch. This is close enough for government work, goddammit.
And compared to other Australian states, New South Wales is a particularly dirty place. We're the gambling capital of the world, we're the cocaine capital of the world, and not in a cool El Chapo way either. We just have a lot of...
We watched Friendly Jordy's gambling video about, like, gambling in Australia. It is degenerately bad, the gambling problem in Australia. And it's not just the gambling that's the problem, it's the using the gambling facilities to launder money. And it's, like, insanely easy to do. Like, to the point where they did a video that we reacted to on stream where they wore shirts that had, like, fingers pointing to each other on them. They wore matching shirts with the fingers pointing at each other, and it says, "I'm with money launderer." And then he eventually got, "I'm here to money launder" shirts to do it. And then eventually they walked in wearing literally, like, inmate outfits, like prison inmate outfits, like the classic, like, striped jumpsuit, and walked in, and nobody cared. Nobody stopped them. Like, that is how bad it is. Yeah, the escaped convict outfit. It just keeps getting progressively more crazy, and nobody at the casino, like, people at the casino actively help them launder the money. Like, that. They are actively, like, having problems because the machines are hitting limits meant to keep you from laundering money at them, and the employees are coming and removing the limit for them so that they can launder the money while wearing "I am a money launderer" shirts. It was a wild video, dude. The gambling problem in Australia is fucking insane. And then, of course, as Minimum Volts mentioned earlier, the piss seats.
Lot of coke users here, the highest per capita of anywhere, actually. For this story, it's important to understand that New South Wales is a state that was created by criminals, and let's be honest, we really have stuck to our roots. During the early stages of our colony, our de facto currency was rum. When an English governor was sent here to attack...
Guys, I legitimately do stand by my analysis of Attack on Titan that the Eldians are actually stand-ins for Australians, okay? That is, I stand by this analysis.
To raid it in. We cooed him. Look at him hiding under the bed like he's me. Coward! That's our first political cartoon, by the way. Throughout the 20th century, our police force, political class, and criminal underworld had a rich culture of working hand in hand to maximise each other's hustle. And let's be honest, despite numerous inquiries uncovering the extent of corruption and criminal penetration into the institutions of New South Wales, nothing has really shocked the system into radically cleaning up its act.
Because, like, at the end of the day, unless you can literally have the leadership of the country terrified that they're going to lose power if they don't do something, like, they're just going to ignore the media calling this shit out. Like, there needs to be, like, literally protests that it's part of why I get so frustrated when liberals get, like, their pants all pissy about destructive protesting. Like, as bad optically as destructive protesting is, it is what works. Like, you can't ignore it. It gets everybody's eyes on the issue, and that's the point of protesting at the end of the day. So if people aren't dying and it's just property getting fucked up, ideally government property getting fucked up or, you know, very wealthy corporations' property getting fucked up, I honestly, morally, don't give a shit. I have an optical issue with it because it's not very good optically, but at the same time, I recognize that that is the type of protest that actually gets attention. And I feel like that's what Australia needs some of with this stuff because, like, the impression I get from Friendly Jordy's videos is that the Australian government is really corrupt. Like, hilariously corrupt.
A completely unrelated note, let me introduce you to the former Deputy Premier of New South Wales, John Barilaro. He's been the topic of many of my past videos. And look, just to be clear, I'm not alleging anything here, and it is too big of a jump to go from beating a cameraman in public to firebombing a house. So obviously I'm not saying he did it, but he did do this, wailed on a cameraman. We'll get to that in a second, but first, you're going to have to endure an extremely bizarre twisting tale. For the new viewers, here's how I made an enemy of basically every powerful person in the state. John Barilaro was the equivalent of a lieutenant governor. He was the Deputy Premier of New South Wales from 2016 to 2021 until he quit, blaming my cyberbullying. How do we get to the point where the most powerful man in the most powerful state in Australia claims that he's decided to resign because of a YouTube beef?
This guy is a fucking Giga Chad. That is some of the most fucking Giga Chad shit I have ever heard. This man bullied the equivalent of a fucking state governor out of office. That is literally the equivalent. Like, this is basically on par with, like, bullying Ron DeSantis into resigning from his position as Florida governor because I made, like, a scathing YouTube video on him. That is legitimately how Giga Chad what he did is. Just a lieutenant governor? What is a lieutenant governor? How many layers do I need to drop down then for my comparison? I thought lieutenant governor was more of like an Australian thing. Right hand of the governor? Okay, so who's Ron DeSantis? Okay, let's look into it then. Who is Ron DeSantis's essentially running mate? Nunez. Oh, I know that motherfucker. Yeah, it'd be like if I made a video on Florida Lieutenant Governor Nunez and just bullied the motherfucker out of office.
It kind of begins with videos I was making about the insane land clearing rates in New South Wales because of the actions of John Barilaro's government. Led by Premier Gladys Berejiklian, we had an increase in land clearing rates.
Why does this lady look like a Titan? This lady has the face of a Titan. I know I made the Attack on Titan joke earlier, but I can't not see it. Like, you could imagine this is, like, the face that they would use for a Titan in Attack on Titan. Just a really, like, she's so uncanny looking. It doesn't look right. I don't like the body shame, but she's also evil and powerful, so fuck it. Like, she looks like a robot. She looks like if you just took a bunch of random... She looks like someone hit random in the character creation screen. In, like, Ark Survival Evolved. If she were a Titan, wouldn't she be smiling? No. Not all Titans smile. Plenty of Titans just have frowning faces or, like, neutral faces.
By over 1,300%, making Australia the only developed nation having a global deforestation hotspot next to its name, and putting koalas on track for extinction by 2050. So repeatedly,
Listen, I know the little fuckers carry chlamydia. That is true, okay? But you can't make koalas extinct in fucking Australia. Dude, that's like if we just made the bald eagle extinct in our country. What the fuck? What? It'd be like if we just decided, yeah, let's make sure the American bison goes completely extinct by 2060. Let's just go ahead and do that. What? Why? Like, people literally visit Australia to see koalas, in the same way people literally visit America to see the Great Plains and all the fucking American bison. I mean, we already tried that one, lol. Making the bald eagle extinct? Yeah, we protected it, though. Yeah, like, you can't wipe out the kangaroos. Like, Jesus. Like, yeah, it's like, what are they gonna do? The kangaroos next? The fucking wallabies? They're gonna go after the fucking wombats and the crocodiles? Like, make all of the Australian things extinct? There's a few Australian creatures that could do with extincting, but koalas, they're gonna go after the koalas, too.
I called Premier Gladys Berejiklian koala killer over this. In mid-2020, I also interviewed the opposition leader Jodie McKay, where we discussed the government's appalling record. John Barilaro takes issue with this interview and the nickname and decides to white knight for his boss on radio.
That is some good propaganda art. I feel like you could interpret this as somewhat anti-Semitic, though, for obvious reasons, but considering this is from a progressive criticism, I doubt that's the case. This is a good way to depict your political enemies. We need to get more hardcore against our political enemies here in America. We need to learn from Australians and get more raunchy. She's Armenian? Okay. But I don't even think she's well, no, it doesn't matter whether or not she's Jewish. It's whether or not the illustration here looks like an anti-Semitic stereotype is the point that I was making. How would I know if this lady's Jewish or not? Do you think I knew or assumed that? I'm just talking about the drawing. Okay. Anyway, we need to get more, mean. The left needs to get meaner.
Name and decides to white knight for his boss on radio.
And I've seen some of these banners online or physically where, they call Gladys the koala killer.
Obviously, I found that very amusing and did a video that included this impression.
Oh, what the f***? She's never even personally killed one koala. The one she backed over was an accident, bruh. Oh my god, what'd you call a koala killer? What the f***'s the body? I don't see the koala. Where's the f***ing DNA evidence, bruh?
Still gets loved to this day, one of the classics. Then one morning, we got calls from sources in New South Wales Parliament claiming that John Barilaro...
It's how we do our caricatures, Xanderhall. Our PMs get big noses or ears. Oh, okay. That was an interesting impression, though. That was pretty funny.
Barilaro was very shitty at that video, huffing and puffing, claiming that the impression was racist. I remember this happening because I couldn't believe how stupid the claim was. We were all thinking, no way is he going to publicly say something about this. And then this article came out. YouTube comedian in racist low blow towards Premier. He responded by planting a story in the newspaper that alleged because I did it in...
So... what I love so much about the Australian, government is that they will actively push the most demonic conservative politics while playing the most milquetoast progressive front. They're like TERFs. They're a lot like TERFs is what they remind me of. Pretending like they're woke and progressive. It's all newspapers. Yeah, you're right. But digital, yeah, but newspapers, you're right. They all pretend to be woke and progressive, especially in their criticisms of their detractors, but it's literally all them pushing for the most objectively conservative and evil bullshit. Deforesting massive tracts of Australians' land and making it so that koalas go extinct and shit. I don't know a lot about Australia's geography, but I know that a lot of it is desert, and that's the outback. And I know there's a lot of it that is sort of rainforesty, depending on where you go. I know that the northern part of Australia tends to be more arid and desert-like, and when you're in sort of the middle of nowhere, you call it the outback. That's sort of the sticks or whatever. And when you go down north, it tends to get wetter and cooler. And or south, sorry. When you go down south, it tends to get wetter and cooler, and that's where you find your forest and stuff. So they're wiping out what I assume would be a lot of the vegetation areas on the south of Australia, because that's my understanding from looking at where I want to visit. That's where all the cool rainforest stuff is. It's where the cassowaries are, and they go around eating the fruit off the jungle floor and pooping out the seeds, and you got your koalas and little koakas and kangaroos, and what else do they have there in the jungles of Australia? I don't know. I want to visit Australia one day. Seems like a cool place to explore.
Impression of him, I was racist
and die.
Against Italians and the migrant success story. This is the same paper that posted this cartoon a few months later. Gladys, I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse. So inaccurate, there is no way he'd be that tactful in his threat. This is what it actually read. Yeah, I'm threatening you, dickhead. I don't give a that this is an open line. We couldn't believe it. I think the team and I were in Goldman Subway when we first read it. We were pissing ourselves. John Barilaro was a man who built a career railing against political correctness, and now he was in an article taking issue with me doing an impression of him, and specifically annoyed by the inclusion of the word bruz. That's
Is this where bruz came from? Is this where I remember Minimum Volts bring that name up a few times in the last reaction video. Is this the origin? Okay, so this is where we're learning the memes. Okay. Makes me think of Bruce from Shadow of War.
It's Australian slang for brother/cousin, usually used by utter legends. The most ironic part of that article is that my family are migrants from a place that less than 100 years ago was part of Italy. John didn't even bother checking that before throwing out his sob story. So we thought a whiny, sensitive, fat Italian man who also happens to be the most powerful man in the state. Content gold. HBO understood that 20 years ago. So obviously we came up with a bunch of stupid nicknames and animations about him, including the classic Super Barilaro, braz. It's a me, Barilaro. Do you like these koalas? Woohoo! We've approved countless development and logging proposals in koala habitat, starving them, fast-forwarding their extinction clock, and didn't make any effort at all in the...
Hold on, I wanna read a little bit of these.
It's a me, Barilaro. Do you like these koalas? Woohoo! We've approved...
Today, Brandy Hill Quarry expansion placed on the Bergelians Gov's fast track list. The EIS says 45.8 ha? What was that supposed to be? Is that like some European measurement? Ha of koala habitat. Hectare? Oh, hectare. Okay. 45.8 hectares of koala habitat will be removed from the project to the extent the species is likely to decline locally. Port Stephens koalas are endangered. Decline equals extinction. New South Wales koala strategy kisses conservation goodbye. Less than 1 year ago, the Berejiklian, I don't know how this is supposed to be pronounced, government ushered in new environment laws, which made 99% of identified koala habitat on private land able to be bulldozed. The New South Wales North Coast is estimated to be declining by 50%. In nearly all other New South Wales bioregions, koalas were estimated to have declined by levels ranging 4 to 50%. Jesus. Oh my god.
Of the countless development and logging proposals in koala habitat.
Your recovery plan to bring back koalas' populations back to health is 5 years overdue, as experts warn that new research shows the species faces fresh challenges. When the status of koalas has changed to vulnerable in 2012, the federal government took advice from Threatened Species Commission and I'm so bad at reading like these very narrow columns of text. Commission and committed to recovery plan. Recovery plans are an instrument of national environment laws and come with a 3-year deadline to implement and fund. Their purpose is to maximize the long-term survival of wildlife. A 1 of 3-year extension is permitted, which former Environment Minister Greg Hunt issued for the koala plan in 2015. This is now 2 years overdue, so they haven't done it. Australian National University ecologist Cara Youngentab said a recovery plan should absolutely be a priority, as forestry operations in some areas were damaging koala habitat and contributed to monocultures in forests. After disturbance from logging and fire, just one species of tree was growing back to dominate the forest and creating food deserts for koalas, said Dr. Youngentab. Their populations are like little lights, and they will continue to blink out across their habitat range until it's totally dark, she said. The current protections in place aren't enough to ensure populations don't continue to decline. There have been localized extinctions. God, are we actually going to see like a significant koala extinction?
starving them, fast-forwarding their extinction clock, and didn't make any effort at all in
Mainstream media is hiding the truth about koala extinction. In reality, the legacy of the bushfires and drought make it almost 100%. There was massive fucking bushfires in Australia a few years ago that were massive headline news, like the giant fire tornadoes and shit. I totally forgot about that. That probably destroyed massive amounts of habitat for a ton of animals. Why kill koalas? Seriously asking. From the looks of it, it seems like there was like the idea was that to protect koala populations, there were supposed to be conservation efforts made to prevent the destruction of their habitats on privately owned land. So if you had like a bunch of land that you owned, but that land was koala habitat, you couldn't bulldoze it and build a condo there, for example, or like I don't know, anything there, because you'd be breaking federal law, I guess. They are not doing that now. So they are, just taking it down for logging, for building new developments, whatever it may be. There's no protection for the habitat. We sell off all of our land to logging companies.
attempt to save their populations, all with the help of my good friend, yay! By mutilating labor.
Brazilian government allows open slather on wildlife. That's an interesting open slather. I assume that's meant to be slaughter. The codes are a disaster for the environment, with the government's own assessment that they will lead to 45% increase in clearing, including 99% of identified koala habitat on private land. I can't speak today. I'm having like the worst tongue twisting today for some reason.
For its Native Vegetation Act, I thought I'd increase land clearing by 45%. But what's the dates? Woohoo! I increased it by 1,300.
Land clearing soars under watered-down state laws. The document found land clearing rates had increased by 1,300% since the coalition radically weakened biodiversity conservation laws in late 2017. It looks like prior to 2017, there was a pretty decent sentiment within the government to actively protect koalas, but those ideas and those initiatives have not been acted on for literal years. They're well behind schedule and basically being completely ignored. The land is being sold to logging companies, which are cutting down large swaths of trees and destroying huge amounts of koala habitat. And if you dare to be a popular progressive voice in Australia and call out what's being done here for the profit of these money-grubbing pieces of shit, then you will be called racist or have your house firebombed, I guess. If you call out, no doubt this guy's getting massively lobbied by these logging companies. If you call that out, then you'll just get your house firebombed. Cool.
100%.
Or arrested and put on a terror watch list. That too, minimum volts.
Mamma mia! When I discovered the Brumbies were destroying Kosciuszko National Park, bringing a bunch of endangered species to the brink of extinction, I was gonna authorize a cull, but then I realized I could make $10,000 in donations by allowing them to destroy the park.
Use question time on Tuesday to ask the government if Barilaro had any disclosed significant political donations from the owner of a horse trekking business in the Snowy Mountains, Peter Crum. The opposition claims Courtroom, the former member for Barilaro's seat of Monaro, has donated more than $10,000 to Barilaro's campaigns. I'm bad with these fucking names. I'm sorry. I'll get better at them. So there's this invasive horse species that was brought up into that region and was destroying the biodiversity of the region for a bunch of different endangered species in the area. And I guess there was a guy who was using them to do a horse riding ranch, a horse trekking business, it says, up in the mountains. And so he buried the issue because it would hurt his friend's business, and his friend has literally contributed more than 10 grand to him and his campaign. That's wild, dude. The treatment of the horses was also insanely fucked. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, these are pretty grotesque, demonic people we're talking about.
Woohoo! Everything in my life was going great until, what's this? Branch. Oh, someone hurt my feelings.
Got
We
him.
also made some merch. Anyway, this was all super auspicious because I swear to God, earlier in the year, unrelated to this new beef, we realised John Barilaro had this palatial multi-million-dollar estate that he Airbnb'd as a side hustle to his other gig, being the leader of a state. We thought, surely this is the dumbest thing you could do, right? Like, especially since the other half of the time, it's not Airbnb, that's where he lives. So we thought, wouldn't it be good if we film a video on the history of all the shitty things he's done, but film it at that Airbnb?
Hear me out. Hear me out, chat. It's the last day before you have to leave the Airbnb. Okay? So you go to the grocery store and you buy some eggs. You take a pot, you put it on the stove, and you turn on the stove, and you turn the water up to boil. You drop the eggs in, and you know, you get your nice hard-boiled eggs, right? Once you've got your hard-boiled eggs, you crack those babies, and you just slightly, you know, get them split in half, but enough that they're still, like, together. You just take those eggs, and you find a nice air vent. Find a nice air vent. Or you take one egg and go to each air vent, and you throw those fuckers far into the back of those air vents. Every single one in the entire mansion. A cracked in half, like split in half, hard-boiled egg. And then you leave. And you just chuckle to yourself knowing that eventually revenge will be served. It will be served cold, and it will be served stinky. That's the vengeance that I was able to think of, like, right off the top of my head, you know? If I had more time, I could probably think of something even more diabolical, but just off the top of my head, that's what my spiteful brain thought of, and if he didn't do some shit like that, I'd be disappointed. He does something better than that. It's so fucking funny. Okay. Let's watch.
So that's where one of our biggest videos, Bruz, comes from, which was released in September of 2020, which I've got to say, it had a very good twist, because as you've probably gathered, or haven't because you're that dumb, I'm filming at your estate, and I want you to be the first to know that I f***ed in both your guest houses.
Oh, Stitch, we tracked the video. It's coming from inside the house.
You wouldn't
Giga Chad. That's some Giga Chad shit. One day I hope to be able to take a girl, break into Ron DeSantis' house, and then fuck her on his bed, and then make a video about it, and then he's so upset about it, he quits. He just quits. That's the dream. That is unironically the dream. Can you imagine? Can you fucking imagine? That is the fucking dream.
expect this from me, but I highly recommend this video, links in the description. Obviously, the video caused quite a stir, front page news in fact, unbeknownst to us at the time, and it was later revealed by New South Wales Parliament after that video came out. John was demanding the police conduct a bug sweep of the property, something that would cost the taxpayers 10 grand. Despite
Don't need to do a bug sweep. They should have, like, if they were doing a fucking sweep of that place after I'd stayed there, they'd be doing a rotten egg sweep.
the fact we paid almost that much to stay at the property. Just imagine how stupid and entitled it is to be Deputy Premier and lease one of your primary residences out to anyone. I never considered doing this before, but say a property developer wants a favour, they could very easily get material to blackmail you.
I have an unlicensed casino in my basement. Please don't tell the authorities. Also, if you wrong me, you end up in this secret room.
There you go, some unreleased footage from Bruz. More on that at the end of the video, so stay tuned. Anyway, after the release of Bruz,
Dude, You know what would also really stink up that place that they could do? Just go to the grocery store and buy some live crab, like some live king crab, and boil it with some butter and just make some homemade crab in the kitchen. The whole place will smell like crab for like a month. Maybe longer. No windows open, especially. Let those fuckers boil for a while.
As John became increasingly agitated by the videos we were making. One in particular seemed to really bother the Barilaro family. It was called the
What is that? What the fuck was that? A wombat? That's a wombat, I guess. Yeah, I think that might be a wombat. No, it's not a capybara. Those are from South America. Minimum volts, what is that? It's a wombat. Okay, wombat confirmed.
The Barilaro family. It was called The Italian Job. That was released in November of 2020. It was an expose that detailed how John and his dad, before politics, became the directors of their local Italian club. They then racked up a bunch of unsecured debt, and as directors,
He was accusing friendly Geordies of anti-Italian racism. God, I love this fucking... I love Australia now. I changed my mind. Fantastic country.
sold the clubhouse property for pennies to a company they directed and owned shares in, thus becoming the landlords. They then jacked up the rent against themselves, forcing the Italian club to go defunct and leaving them with the property as directors of the club they had already sold to themselves for a bargain. Later...
Yeah, it's just pretty general, like, rich people corruption, playing the system bullshit.
They sold that property, formerly owned by the Italian community, to developers, making a $700,000 profit. Wow, now that's a migrant success story. And if that's all too complex, full video is linked in the description. But in short, it was just heaps dodge. In another video, I called Barilaro up and attempted to ask him about allegations surrounding him and extramarital affairs.
I like his Doom edit shirt that says bruise.
Turns out, John's intimate relationships would eventually come under scrutiny in a corruption hearing concerning his boss's intimate relationships, but that's a story for another day. I didn't know this at the time, but these videos caused John's office to contact the New South Wales Police Force just days after their release, specifically the Counter-Terrorism and Special Tactics Command. New South Wales...
Dude, I worry about this guy. I legitimately worry for this guy's life. He is actually in danger. Like, if you get popular enough and influential enough as a progressive figure that you actually start to stir up enough shit, you'll turn up dead. That happens. If you get to be too successful as a progressive or, God forbid, leftist figure, the state will not even the state, you'll just turn up dead. Simple as that. IDAT has been looking after him. What's IDAT? His house got firebombed? Yeah, the video's literally called Who Firebombed Friendly Geordies. Oh, I did a thing. Oh, okay. People in chat were saying Aussie CIA is what IDAT is. Okay, I did a thing's a YouTuber. So he's staying with I did a thing. I like that YouTuber. They also sound very similar. Like, I would believe it if they told me they were brothers. They have very similar voices.
Police then set up a dedicated strike force to put surveillance on us, a YouTube channel. That's right. In Australia, our terror police go after YouTube channels. It was called Strike Force Wyargin. What the f*** is Wyargin? Why couldn't they have just called it what they were targeting? Strike Force Big Cock. I told you this was a bizarre story, but it gets stranger. At the same time this is happening, John's also contacting defamation lawyers, who we have also confirmed were at some point in contact with the...
Okay. I will remind you guys, by the way, they have a group investigating friendly Geordies called a strike force. Yeah, that's a little bit worrying. A little bit, that usually when I think of a strike force, that's like, a group of people meant to take someone down by any means necessary, usually. Like, that's typically what comes to mind when I hear the words strike force.
Strike force surveilling us. The defamation lawyers draft up this absolutely schizophrenic letter detailing all of John's grievances with the videos I made, including that I called him a greasy little scrotum. He needed to clear the record on that one, let everyone know that's not true. This letter gets sent to me just a few days before Christmas of 2020, and because unlike you lucky Americans, we don't have your First Amendment in this country, someone can very easily take you to court for calling them a stupid fat idiot, which was something else that the lawyers whinged about in this letter. The first few months of 2021 go by, and they were pretty quiet.
If I got sued for calling someone a stupid fat Italian idiot, I would proudly take the guilty plea. Yes, I did call this guy a stupid fat Italian idiot. I did. I called him that. Yeah, guilty. Let the jury decide what to do with me. Yeah. Rolled like a meatball. Yeah. I would absolutely plead guilty to that, proudly.
Unbeknownst to us that a police terror unit is surveilling us on behalf of a guy that we expose and
I will say, by the way, if they really go after Friendly Jordies again, it's not going to be to arrest him. Like, if this is the government going after Friendly Jordies on behalf of this fucking Italian buttfuck guy, I forget what his name is, Barley Bro. Like, if the state goes after Friendly Jordies again on this guy's behalf, they're not going to go to arrest him or to, like, unlawfully detain him. Like, they're going to try to kill him. Like, he's already been firebombed at this point, and it almost certainly wasn't, like, by the looks of things, it doesn't seem like it was a random hater of his content, right? Like, here in America, if a political left-wing YouTuber's house was firebombed, you would be like, okay, probably Nazis, probably, like, far-right, like, haters or something did it. Maybe some Nazi, like, group did it. But, like, in Australia, considering who this guy makes enemies with and the content this guy makes, this doesn't seem like it was someone, like, some random crazy person firebombing him because they love the state officials that this guy criticizes. That, like, the only realistic perpetrator of this is, like, someone involved with the state in some way.
Made fun of. But we know we have to respond to this nutty letter at some point, so we thought, what better place than a university forum that Barilaro is speaking at? We pay him a visit. He tells us to f*** off. This is all detailed in the video Bruz Eternal, which goes through all of the contents of the legal threat we got. The video has now been taken off of YouTube, I think because we advertised the greasy little scrotum key rings we were selling. You can still watch that video on our website though, links in the description. Obviously, this exchange jolted John and his greedy defo lawyers into action, and they filed in the federal court, leaking this fact to the press before we even knew. I had to find out in the press. What am I? A murder victim? Jesus, it's like the night crawlers coming before the cops. Oh, and side note, for his lawyers, he got attorneys who at the time were representing alleged war criminals and a barrister who was just prohibited by court from acting for a client, another one of Australia's most colourful politicians, because of a conflict of interest.
This is some chicanery right here. This is some chicanery. And I won't fucking stand for it. So they basically were trying to put together like a, I guess, a mock trial? Like a rigged trial against him to ensure he'd lose the lawsuit? What a frame. Holy shit. Yeah, we got... Hey, Cherry. Here's your image of Friendly Jordies for the thumbnail. Friendly Jordies Pog? Unironically, you might want to cut this bit out and send it to him on Twitter or some shit. I feel like you might want to use this image. This is like a really good... Like, this is a very clean pause. Like, we paused on a clean fucking Friendly Jordies Poggers. That's a 10 out of 10 pog face right there. Perfect angle and everything, too. Cherry, do it.
Only the best. Around this time, I'm told by my neighbours that while I was away on tour, the police came and visited my house. I thought, that's quite bizarre, so I get my lawyer Mark to call up the police, who at first deny that there was any visit at all. And only after Mark quotes a time and date does he get transferred to the Counter-Terrorism and Special Tactics Command, specifically the Fixated Persons Unit, a unit set up in the wake of a deadly siege in the centre of Sydney. Basically, this unit's MO is to stop lone wolf terrorists. People like, I don't know, Joker or Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver. That's literally me. The police officer there...
Basically, it's their unit they use as an excuse to like, surveil anybody they view as hypercritical of the state. Don't think that the US isn't or wouldn't do this as well, by the way. Like, if Australia's doing this, there's no doubt in my mind that, one, probably America is doing it, and two, if they're not doing it, then they will.
There informs Mark that he had a warrant for my arrest and he was at my house to arrest me, but I wasn't there. So the police seemingly had time to think, walk back from the brink, and were apparently awaiting legal advice. Anyway, back to...
How fucked does your situation have to be? That, like, the state are trying to get the police to unlawfully arrest you, and then the police get to your house but you're not there, and then with the time they have waiting for you realize, wait a second, there's no actual grounds for us to arrest this guy on. And then they seek further legal advice and then don't pursue arresting the guy. Like, Christ. Bruce is gone. He retired like last year. Well, clearly he's still relevant. Clearly he's still, like, connected. And clearly he's still, like, somewhat of a threat to our boy here, considering he got fucking firebombed.
To the lawsuit, because we hadn't been served yet, we decided to have a little fun and do what is perhaps the greatest Friendly Geordies gag in history, because we hadn't been handed the documents. We are on the elevator up to Mark O'Brien Legal to ask to be served because it's been a week exactly, and the press knows all about what I've done wrong. But I don't. Let's find out.
I serve you here with the originating application, the statement of claim and the getting steps.
Oh, thanks so much. And oh no. So we've been served, and what they...
Can you imagine? You're like engaging in a frivolous slap lawsuit, essentially, and you're like the lawyer, and you're handing the guy the papers to serve him a cease and desist, or not even a cease and desist, serving him his like court date, like you show up in court, or you automatically lose by default. I mean, by American court rules at least. I don't know if it's different in Australia. Probably not that different. Yeah, I gotta hand it to him. That was pretty good. Just the fucking fake hand grabbing the goddamn papers and just falling on the ground, and the lawyer just looking like blown away that any level of humor has been done here. Because I don't know, there's just something that felt so like Giga Chat about that I respect.
They gave us, in my honest opinion, is another whiny crock of shit that was not only riddled with delusional and paranoid readings of silly jokes, but had straight out factual errors, like mistaking their own client John Barilaro for being a federal politician instead of a state politician. Absolute geniuses. For Americans, that's like lawyers acting for DeSantis or some other governor thinking he's president. Just embarrassing.
Wait, he made the comparison to DeSantis. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Embarrassingly stupid mistakes for a normal person, let alone lawyers. Not much happens for about a day. Then on the 4th of June 2021,
it feels like the people going after him, like, because they know they have nothing legally, like lawfully, they have nothing to go after him for, they're just not even trying hard to make basic things about the case be on the up and up. Like, they're half-assing everything because they just know they have no actual grounds to this at all.
Producer Christo was walking back from uni. He was already planning on meeting our lawyer Mark that day, so he had the documents on him. Yet on the way back, he bumps into Barilaro himself, attempted to hand back the documents to tell him about the mistake, being listed as a federal politician. Barilaro basically took no notice. Then, Only a few hours later...
No, I'm allowed to film it though.
Yeah.
No.
So I saw this. This is when Friendly Jordy's co-host was arrested, right? I've seen this clip. I think I had this sent to me back when it happened.
I'm allowed to film it. No, you're not, because you're under arrest. Could you film
I'm allowed
this?
to film
Could
it.
you film this, Mum?
You can film it.
That's
okay.
But you're not allowed to, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to. No, Mum, you can take my... No, you can take my phone. No, take my phone. Take my phone. Don't
What the f? Yeah, they're giving away evidence and trying to run away with it. Yeah? Don't run off with evidence. Okay? Who are you doing this? You're going to... Jesus Christ.
I'm calling.
Where is it? Film this.
I am.
Make
What
sure
the
you don't film it. This is bizarre.
This is not Australia.
Yeah, it's Mark Davis.
Have you got the number? You hurt a 51-year-old woman. You knocked
I
me
tripped over.
Are these cops? Or are they like feds pretty much? Because they're not wearing... They're not in police uniform. Are these just full-on fucking feds? Or are they undercover? Or what's the deal here? Part of the anti-terror task force? Jesus Christ.
You killed my dog.
I tripped
who's
over.
old.
Okay?
No, you did not.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
pushed your way. You pushed
No,
me
no,
down.
I tripped over.
You
That's
assaulted
whatever it
me.
was.
You assaulted
Okay?
me. You
No, I
just
didn't.
assaulted me. And I've got
did.
witnesses.
We told you
I've
to
got-
hand over the phone.
They killed her dog. Did they really kill her dog? Federal police? Did they really kill her dog just then? I wouldn't be surprised if they did. No? It is very common for police to kill people's dogs. No, the dog made it? Okay.
I have got witnesses.
You handed it to her. I tripped over you.
You pushed
That's what
me
happened.
down in my own home.
No, I didn't.
You
I
absolutely-
COVID environment. That's all.
So it seems I've made enemies of politicians, lawyers, and now the police. Christo was arrested by the Terror Police, specifically the Fixated Persons Unit, charged with 4 counts of...
It's shit like this why I'm not... This is why I can't fully be on favor with, like, or fully on board with anti-gun lefties. Because, like... No. No, I do think that an armed populace is good. Like arming the working class is good. I don't think that an armed working class is capable of a revolution or overthrowing the government, but I do think, like, if the cops come to kill you, like, because sometimes the cops just come to kill you. We've seen videos of times where the cops just come to a call, and by the looks of it, they were just dedicated to fucking killing the person who they were there to go after. Just however it went, that person was going to die when they had the cops called on them that day. Like, we've seen the videos where it's like there is nothing this suspect could have done to not end up turned into Swiss cheese by these cops. Like, no slower of a movement, no more of, like, cooperating or doing anything like that would have kept them from getting shot. We've seen those videos. They're terrifying because you think, what if I was in that situation? What the fuck would I do? You would die. You would die because the cop wanted to kill you, or was too scared to think straight and decided that no matter what you did, you were too scary and they were going to have a hair trigger that day. You were going to die no matter what. What are you going to do? Shoot the cops? If they're trying to kill you, yeah. I mean, like, there are states where you're allowed, like, you have stand your ground laws, castle doctrine states where you're allowed to defend your home when it's broke in with lethal force, and some of those states also do no-knock warrants. So I don't know what the exact law is there, but, like, if you found your door getting kicked down by the police, like, in the middle of the night, and you have your shotgun next to your bed, and all you know is that the cops are just somebody's kicking down your door and people are rushing into your house, and you just start firing, that should be allowed. Because people are breaking into your house and you don't know what the fuck's going on. You should be allowed to fight for your life. Yeah, no, Zan? Why not, Moody? That's not a response. Saying, yeah, no, Zan, is not a response. For God's sakes, having more guns makes the police more unsafe as well. Police violence is lower in places with less guns. I feel like this is the kind of scenario where, like, the state can just do this. You guys know that, right? Like, you know, like the police or the federal government can just do this if they decide to. If like they can just do this. I know it's Australia in this case, but like shit like this happens in America. This has happened before. Especially the further back in history you can get really into shit like this. I do think that, like, you should not necessarily, I mean, you should legally, but morally, I think you have the right, if you're, like, pretty sure the cops are gonna fucking kill you, or they're coming to your house to, like, break in and take you against your will on like, false pretenses, like, especially a situation like this, because they've considered you an enemy of the state because of your words, your fucking, like, criticism of people in power. Like, yeah, you should be able to defend yourself violently. There is absolutely no, like, moral argument against being able to violently defend yourself in this situation against the state. Am I talking to a bunch of liberals right now? We don't need U.S. gun culture. Stop. I'm not talking about Australia. I'm talking about America. You Australians can do whatever the fuck you want. But here in America, I think it's... I want the working class to be armed. Not the conservatives and the crazy motherfuckers. They're being armed is unfortunate, but, like, that's just how it is. So if that's going to happen, the left needs to be armed as a counter to that. Guns aren't going anywhere in America anytime soon. Trying to fight against guns as a political party for the Democrats has been a losing issue time and time again. Like, no matter how many children get slaughtered in school shootings, Americans will never give up their guns, okay? Like, American conservatives care too much more, way more about guns than children, okay? Like, you could literally be carrying piles of dead kids out of schools every single minute. And conservatives will still fight tooth and nail to keep their guns. And then they will shoot you if you try to take them away, okay? So the guns aren't going anywhere. The conservatives are keeping their fucking guns. The best thing you can do is to arm yourself. So that's what it comes to when we're talking about, like, the right in this country. But as far as the, like, arming yourself to be ready if the state ever does some shit, yeah, you should be. Yeah. The cops have killed innocent people plenty of times, and in those scenarios, I feel like that person should have had a gun and a fighting chance.
Stalking and intimidation. So we're now facing criminal charges and a defamation suit. We raise $1 million in legal funds, which we're still using to this day. Thank you so much. Weeks after the arrest, New South Wales is plunged into lockdown, and I know from how much time I had to spend on it, instead of focusing on his job as Deputy Premier during a crisis.
FYI, the cops in that video weren't armed. Well, I don't know if your Australian MSDX are, but here in America, if somebody breaks into your house to, like, kidnap you by force and they aren't armed, you're still allowed to, like, kill them. Not, like... The only difference here is that these are people who are working for the state. And if you think that makes them special so much to the extent that morally it is wrong to defend yourself against violence done upon you by them, then you're a massive lib. And I guess you just have to own that.
Barilaro is spending a significant amount of his time preparing his defamation suit against a YouTuber. Even Logan Paul had the decency to back out of that. Barilaro even goes on television to spread lies about his involvement with the Fixated Persons Unit, making the insane denial that he had anything to do with the arrest.
Did you ask for the Fixated Persons Investigation Unit to be involved in the arrest of Jordan Shanks's employee, Christo Lanka?
Absolutely not. Rubbish again. Rubbish.
I'm not talking about to think the cops are coming to your house and you can claim castle doctrine is insane. I'm not saying that you can. I said maybe you could. I don't know the exact law in every state. Does that sound like I'm speaking with authority on that part of the issue, Moody? Oh my god, there are so many retards in chat who desperately try to search for any in they can get to try to get a gotcha. Oh my god, you need to get some pussy, my friend. Please, please acquire some ass. Then you can come back to my chat, okay? When you send me a photo of you actively losing your virginity, then I can unban you, all right? Make sure you're above 18 first. That's when you can actually get unbanned, Moody. There you go. Well, it's a bit out of line. I'm just fucking joking.
You know, they want to pitch it a particular
Touch some ass and acquire some grass, and then you can come to my chat.
way to get community support from their social community. They use whatever means to misrepresent the truth. And again, I'll leave that up to the police. They'll deal with all of this in due course.
Right, but just to clarify, so you had no role in that particular unit.
That's
But Tom, I've already said, I've actually made it clear, Tom. I've said absolutely not. And again, for you to even be asking that question is an indictment on your level of journalism.
I then release a video that criticises the police's response and, shockingly, I know you're not going to believe this, proves that the guy that complained to the police had something to do with the police being involved in Christo's arrest. Always the one you least suspect. Because of this video, the police asked the court to find me in criminal contempt and launch an application for a suppression order. That's right, the police try to get another criminal prosecution on top of the charges against Christo. Thankfully, it doesn't go so well for the cops. They end up withdrawing.
Like, this is literally the state just doing everything they can do to shut down, like, people who criticize them. I know we have freedom of speech written into our Constitution here in America, so it takes a lot more to have a knock at your door for like when it comes to like criticizing or saying things about politicians here in America, but like don't think that this couldn't happen here. Like, the state's powerful enough to do it, and if you don't think they would do if you don't think that the United States government wouldn't do anything it could do to maintain its own existence, then you're a little delusional, okay? Like
the application and paying both Christo and my legal costs.
This is the kind of shit that scares me. Maybe you guys think I'm crazy right now, but as like a political figure, this shit scares me because like this guy's just a YouTuber criticizing politicians in another like Western first world country, like developed nation. On the internet, he's criticizing politicians and his house got fucking firebombed. He's just a guy on the internet criticizing politicians, and his house got firebombed, and the state has tried to, like, silence him and destroy his life. That's terrifying to me. That's really scary.
Of over $20,000. But Christo's criminal charges still hang over him, and my defo case is still ongoing. During this time, Barilaro also decided to publicly announce his intention to resign from politics, basically saying, I forced him to resign.
The defamation case definitely playing a big part of this. I don't know how many of you can endure what I've endured on online. I feel for young men and women, young boys and girls that get bullied on social media. I feel for them because as someone that's been...
You're not a random kid on social media. You're an elected politician, presumably elected. I don't know. Maybe he was appointed, but presumably elected politician. Like, people talking about your policy and your behavior online is not bullying. It is politics.
Been around the traps, a 49-year-old man that's played it rough and tough. I've got to tell you that it's made it very difficult for me.
As all this is going on, in order to understand how this bizarre and overtly political prosecution came about, Christo's lawyers start issuing subpoenas to Barilaro's staffers. His chief of staff, Siobhan Hamblin, seems to rid herself of certain documents and becomes completely uncontactable by the court or lawyers. It's a pretty serious thing to do, ignoring a court, so the magistrate floats issuing a possible arrest warrant.
So they do. It's parliamentary. So basically, they have elected state parliamentary officials, and then those parliamentary officials vote to appoint someone like Bruce into office. Okay, that makes sense.
Until just in time, her lawyers make contact, and she's eventually brought in and cross-examined by Christo's barrister Emmanuel Kirkasharian. During the cross-examination, Hamblin admits that she got rid of documents from her possession, documents pertaining to Christo's arrest, after she'd already been subpoenaed. We never got those documents, and Hamblin never got any punishment for blatantly hiding from a subpoena. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, during this time, I'm also fighting a defamation case brought by Barilaro. I put in an application to have it heard by a jury, something pretty common sense that you'd think you'd automatically be entitled to, right?
Well, a jury would hear this and it would immediately just get shot down, so they have to make sure no jury is involved in this because it needs to all be it needs to be essentially a mock trial.
Barilaro opposed the jury, wanting the case to be heard by a judge only, with his legal team's reasoning being it would be too hard to organise with COVID. Ironically, John was in charge of the COVID roadmap to ending the lockdown in New South Wales. And on the same day his legal team were opposing a jury on those grounds, John was publicly flagging his intention to open up New South Wales ASAP. I lost my application for a jury despite that and was ordered to pay costs to John Barilaro's lawyers for daring to even ask. Now, ready to hear the most mind-bogglingly illogical challenge that we faced during the defo case. One of the things that John was suing me for was saying that he had lied to Parliament. Yet because of parliamentary privilege, basically English law from the 17th century designed to protect politicians' freedom of speech from the King of England getting in your face, in Australia, nothing said in Parliament can be examined by a court. For Americans, Parliament is like Congress. That means I'm unable to present a transcript in which we believe John lied to Parliament in order to mount my defence. John brings a suit against me and then hides behind special parliamentary protections only afforded to him. So my legal team launches an application to strike out that claim, opposed again by Barilaro, who fights tooth and nail to keep that claim in and keep his special protections that prevent his own words from being examined in court.
It's political persecution. This is just definitionally political persecution. They've done these secret trials with whistleblowers here. Yeah, it's a secret trial where they're making up special rules to make sure that the person they're going after loses regardless of... Yeah, oh my fucking god. This is, like, angering to watch. It's terrifying and angering.
And guess what?
I guess you could call it a kangaroo court.
We lose. The judge rules that it would be more unfair to deprive Barilaro of the right to vindicate his reputation that Mr. Shanks attacked than to make it impossible for me to defend myself. So I'm basically stuck in court with no jury of my peers, a judge that doesn't know the first thing about social media, and I can say that because at one point he was asking for someone to explain to him what tagging is. I'm also stuck.
You know they made sure to get the most tech-illiterate judge they could find, too.
With a claim that I can't defend myself from, so it's already an automatic loss for me because my opponent, the man who brought the lawsuit, is protected by a British law from the 17th century. Oh yeah, and all the whiles, I'm being surveilled by a dedicated strike force on behalf of John Barilaro. I hadn't even been firebombed yet someone thought I hadn't suffered enough. So I entered court-ordered mediation with Barilaro with this knowledge, and we come to a deal. I say sorry for hurting your feelings, pay the cost to his lawyers for the jury and parliamentary privilege strikeout applications that I had already had to pay to them because I lost those, and I stopped selling merch that depicts Barilaro as a scrotum, and in exchange, he drops the defo case against me.
Dude, fucking wild that you can get sued for depicting someone as a scrotum. I love America. God. Could you imagine if all the, like, the meme art, like, debasing Trump was illegal? What a nightmare that would be.
In the end, it was a phenomenal deal for me considering the circumstances because Barilaro didn't get a cent from me and I only had to pay what I would have even if I stayed in the suit. That is pretty unheard of in defamation mediation. Defamation cases are pretty much rigged in Australia. For a defendant to come
every country, it's not America by the sounds of it, like defamation cases are fucking rigged for the person suing. I know in the UK, it's why Johnny Depp specifically was doing the defamation lawsuit against Amber Heard in the UK because it was a higher chance of him winning. Man, I need to do a whole video going over the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, like in hindsight, because when you look back on it, like with all of the evidence on the table, it is fucking crazy the double standard that the internet has. Like one of the things, the one that comes to mind immediately is that everyone, like, everyone talks about how, without like even a shred of irony, how Amber Heard shit on Johnny Depp's bed, right? And that was verified by, I think, a police officer who had come in and like seen the poop, or maybe it was a friend of theirs that had come in and seen the poop, and like confirmed, no, that's a human shit on Johnny's bed there. That same source confirmed that Amber Heard had bruises and hits on her face from being hit by Johnny Depp. The source where the Amber Heard bed shit comes from verifies Johnny Depp laid hands on and hit Amber Heard. And everybody ran with the Amber Heard bed shitting story and completely ignored the fact that that same source verifies that Johnny Depp hit Amber Heard and left marks on her face. So that's just a thing that happened with that entire trial. Like, people just run with it like, you know, Johnny Depp didn't like ever touch her or hurt her or anything, and Amber Heard was just this evil bitch lying. Meanwhile, they run with claims from sources that verify Johnny Depp hit her. And I'm not making excuses for any behavior on Amber Heard's part, but like, this does not seem like a thing that should be called out? I don't know. That just remind me of all of that. I feel like I need to do a whole segment on that eventually.
Out with not even 1 cent of damages to be paid to the complainant. That's like winning the Running Man. It doesn't happen. It's almost as if...
Was Amber partially in the right? No, they were both in the wrong.
Barilaro didn't want me mounting my other defences. You know, those that weren't stopped by a 17th century shield. It was like he had me on the hook, and then he threw me back out to sea. And Barilaro wasn't just suing me, he was also suing Google for daring to host my videos on YouTube, and Google and him don't come to a deal, so the case is still set to go ahead in March of 2022. In late
Google might cream him.
December of 2021, I released a video detailing that I had found an Ashley Madison account linked to John Barilaro's email address.
Oh, that's a rough one right there. For those that don't know, Ashley Madison is a website, I think, for like cheating on your spouse. It's like a spouse cheating dating website. Now, to be fair, if your email is public, anybody can sign up for anything with that email. My public like email for people to email me at and for sponsors to email that's like on my YouTube page, like I get shit tons of random spam emails and stuff from like porn sites and whatnot because random Nazis use that email to sign up for all sorts of random shit to get spam emails sent to that email account. But I just have a filter on there so it doesn't really affect it. But yeah, to be fair, that could have been what happened, but I choose to believe that John Barilaro, or whatever the fuck his name is, I'll get it right eventually, is cheating on his wife. Funny story, I had one of the Anthony Barilaro scrotum's friendly Geordie cells on my keychain. I started a new contract working in the public sector, and my manager with the department I was working with was Barilaro's cousin, and where we met before I started, and I put my keys on the table, and he saw it. Just a bit awkward, haha. You should have just been like, yeah, what? I know who you are. And just smiled and stared them dead in the eye.
And personal details. You know the website that had the slogan, "Life is short, have an affair"? It was hacked a few years ago. I swear to God.
That's their tagline? The fuck? That is shameless. That is a shameless fucking company right there. God damn. That is some shameless shit right there. God, holy fuck. That is fucking shameless.
As with the rest of this saga, you couldn't make this up. The username on the account was John Loves to Lick.
No comment.
The video has been taken down by YouTube in Australia, but American subs probably still could be able to see it. It's the vid with the lick emoji as the title. It's very funny. I wish I could go more into it now. Moving on. It's now early 2022. Christo's criminal trial is fast approaching, and so is John's defamation trial. Yet very, very strangely, just a bit over a week before John's defamation trial is set to begin, police drop the charges against Christo and pay his legal costs. Again, almost like the police were working to benefit John, so he could have a bargaining chip in his defo case. Then, Another strange thing happens, perhaps the most tragic of them all. Just days before Google are set to go against John, they drop all their legal defences, leaving John with the legal equivalent of a layup. He now couldn't lose, and the trial would just be a question of how much money he'd get. This was completely illogical on Google's part, and to me it was very, very suspicious.
Why the fuck would Google do that? What level of corruption are we dealing with here? How deep does this fucking go?
There was no logical strategic reason for them to drop their defences, so this results in John's lawyers being able to spend the entire trial getting away with whatever bullshit they like, repeatedly smearing me as a racist, misunderstanding jokes, misrepresenting the timeline of the videos to make it seem like John didn't react first, dramatically overstating to the point that it was comical how much ad rev YouTube videos made. And worst of all, John wasn't asked point blank.
God, like, well, of course he could probably bring up statements, right? Like, if, like, that, you can prove that. Like, you can literally, like, I would hope that your statements from AdSense would be admissible as evidence in court. Like, if they want to overstate, like, you can literally get down to the fucking cent YouTube's, like, algorithm estimation of how much money a YouTube made in ad revenue. So, like, and not only that, but you can look at monthly statements from the bank or from AdSense themselves, which is the Google, like, payment sort of sector, I guess. I feel like that you could very easily disprove that lie.
Any difficult questions. And I'm not there to defend myself or give a true account of what actually happened. Most importantly for John, he got away with this narrative. I was driven out of politics by this horrible racist, much more powerful than me YouTube man, and Google made so much money from his awful videos. Yes, one of the richest corporations really needed a few $1,000s Australian in ad rev. That's why my videos were kept up.
I like the addition of a few $1,000s Australian. Because, like, $1 Australian is like 25 cents.
Pure commercial interest. I'm single-handedly keeping Google afloat, guys. That's the meat of the case. The reason John would be awarded damages centers around the claim that he was forced to resign because of my videos and the fact that Google kept them up. Keep that in mind. After a few days, the trial finishes. On the 6th of June 2022, the judgment comes out and awards John over $700,000 in damages. And not only that, the judge refers me to the registrar for consideration of possible criminal contempt.
This is why I always say, like, we need to just be fine with bad things happening to bad people, and we need to celebrate it. Too many good things happen to the worst people. We need to celebrate when bad things happen to them.
Charges, mostly because of the video I made that detailed the John Loves to Lick Ashley Madison account. That was apparently criminally intimidating to John. But John getting a strike force on us wasn't. So throughout the course of this ordeal, John got away with his chief of staff deliberately ignoring subpoenas, having a police unit surveil us, using police to bring vexatious charges to use as a bargaining chip in a separate civil trial, opposing a jury, hiding behind parliamentary privilege. My grade crime has stayed the same throughout this ordeal, and it just might be why I was firebombed, which is being an annoying pest to a lot of very powerful people in Australia. So John had his big win. But one thing he didn't tell the court, what his lawyers didn't tell Justice Raries, or us for that matter, was that during the trial, John had already had a few very, very lucrative career moves lined right up. In fact, better paid than his job as Deputy Premier. Barely a week after the judgment came out, the New South Wales government announced that it was appointing John Barilaro to be New South Wales Trade Commissioner in New York, a $500,000 a year taxpayer-funded job that John himself created while he was in office.
Of course you can do that. Of course you can just create a very high-paying position, step down, and appoint yourself to that very high-paying position. A more high-paying position than you had before.
This wasn't even the worst thing Barilaro had done that year, but created by far the largest controversy of his career. A parliamentary inquiry was set up to figure exactly how John got that job. And I can't really go into everything here, but suffice to say, it was pretty damning. One of his ex-staffers alleged that as early as 2018, John had said that that big New York job was the job for when I get the out of this place. New South Wales Parliament then questioned John about the timing of his resignation, with John stating under oath that he had only decided to resign days before he announced it. New South Wales Parliament then presented an affidavit from his defamation case against me that contradicted that evidence.
In that meeting, you were yet to decide you were resigning at that point.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
As I said, if the events of Friday didn't occur, I would have stayed on for who knows how long.
This is your outline of evidence in your court case, and can you just read out the highlighted?
Yep. I have therefore made a decision to retire from politics and do not want to face another election.
And what's the date on that, down the bottom?
The 24th of September.
After this appearance at Parliament, John pulled...
Ooh. That's rough. Just lying and then directly reading, having to read out a quote that proves you're lying. Out loud, yourself, in court. Ooh.
Pulled out of all future appearances, citing mental health issues. Mind you, this is after him begging to tell his side of the story.
But the upper house won't call me to the hearing because they don't want to hear the truth. So give me the opportunity in a hearing, in real life time, live, for everybody to get the same information at the same time, and we can go through this process.
I'm planning on maybe doing a dive into that later in the year if you guys want, but this whole matter is still under investigation by New South Wales Parliament and was...
God, I hope that Friendly Jordies gets enough attention with these videos that, like, public outcry causes all these charges to be dropped and for these task force to fuck right off. I really no. Well, that's the point of spreading this around, right? That hopefully it gets enough attention that public outcry can at least have some sort of influencing factor. Like, at the very least, making sure this defamation trial is in front of a jury. They have been dropped? Oh, is this an older video? To be fair, this video is older, so some of the info will be out of date. They have been dropped? Well, in that case, that's fantastic. Yeah, someone donated earlier saying that a Labour PM supports him. So that he has, like, support within the Labour Party, apparently. Someone donated earlier telling me that. You're not the first person to say that, JT. So yeah, it seems like this vid's a month old. Well, yeah, I guess a lot can happen in a month. God, this is such a scary situation to be in. As a YouTuber, just some guy who wants to make videos online shitting on corrupt Australian politicians. Like, this is such a scary situation to be in.
Was referred to the Independent Commission Against Corruption. John was also under investigation by the police. I promise to explain this to you. Clearly, John wasn't doing too well with all the attention his new job got him, because when cameramen went to film him one night regarding this scandal, this happened.
He has a former prime minister backing him. Yeah, that's definitely a powerful player to have on your field. Here, let's watch this.
Regarding this scandal, this happened.
All right, here's the assaulting of the camera guy. Super Smash Bruce.
It was a long and winding road to get to that point, but we got there. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we found our firebomber. Dodgy cameraman Matt Costello. So bitter about Barilaro's epic beatdown, he had to prove himself by taking down the man the courts claim took down Barilaro. For the Yanks watching, that was a joke. The cameraman's gear was broken and he was quite injured from the exchange and couldn't work for a while, so we're now using our legal fund to pay for a legal action against John Barilaro on behalf of the cameraman. Oh, and just a quick update. Days ago, John's charges were dropped on the grounds of mental health. Quite strangely, the prosecutor barely objected.
So they sue for assault and the charges get dropped for mental health? So like every time he needs to get away with something, it just gets he gets an out, and the excuse is just mental health. What is this like faux woke fascism you guys got going on over there? You guys literally have woke fascism going on. What the fuck is happening in Australia right now? Holy shit, he's evil? Yeah, this is pretty objectively evil.
We'll soon be releasing a video on the strange circumstances surrounding the original delay in police charging Barilaro and the conduct of the prosecution in the case, ultimately resulting in his charges being dropped, suffice to say.
That's like the only thing I can call this, woke fascism. Like, we're not going to hold this person who's using the power of the state to silence your speech. We're not going to allow them to be charged for committing a crime because their feelings have been hurt. We gotta take care of their mental health. Manufacturing consent, Zan, neoliberal fascism. Listen, I know you love the term manufacturing consent. I know, I understand. But I'm using terminology that non-theory-brained lefties and progressives will be able to sort of connect with.
Some pretty interesting and concerning information is set to come out. But you'd think this saga would end there, right? No. In the 6 months after John had quit politics, he actually worked another job before landing the Trade Commission role.
Landing.
I don't know how he managed to...
I told you guys, they say land in Australia. They don't say land, they say land. Landing.
Interesting and concerning... No. In the 6 months after John had quit politics, he actually worked another job before landing the Trade Commissioner role. I don't know how he managed to do it, but this one is even more scandalous. Executive Director of large Sydney property development company Coronation Property Co. In August last year, we released an investigation into this developer, which detailed never before published links between them and one of the most violent crime organisations in all of Australian history, the Alameddine crime family, who are in no way suspects in the firebombing. No, not them. I'm sure they all have very credible alibis. We reveal that Andy DeHaas, the now former Secretary and Director of the construction wing of Coronation, MN Builders, he was charged with kidnapping in 2009 after an extremely violent incident where a man was chased down, kidnapped, held against his will and bashed by a group of bikies, one of whom is now on trial for murder. These charges were only dropped after the victim seemingly disappeared. We also have revealed photos of Nahas with high-ranking members of the Alameddine crime family.
Yeah, if I were to guess, it would be these criminally affiliated pieces of shit that are probably responsible for throwing the firebombs themselves. Yeah, like who did the act? Probably. Yeah, these would be the suspects. Yeah, I would agree with that, MSDXR. I doubt it was Bruce himself, but yeah, this sounds plausible.
All that info can be found in articles on our website or the full video. And John Barilaro, after being essentially the leader of the state, went to work for these people. I told you New South Wales was rotten to the core. See how one stupid beef about an accent and the word bruz snowballed into a massive saga that made me the enemy of just about every elite in the state. Police, politicians, organised crime.
We find out? Okay.
I really should have chosen one to be friends with so I'd have a little bit of cover, but... Oh yeah, also, there was a really loud, violent cop that arrested Christo and assaulted his mum and girlfriend.
Yeah, fuck that asshole. I hope that guy loses his job.
Did a video that detailed some pretty strange behaviour of his in a courtroom, linked in the description. But we're not done. You know how earlier I said New South Wales is the gambling capital of the world? Yeah. The gambling lobby came after me with a criminal prosecution. How fun. Essentially, my producer Christo interviewed a terminally ill whistleblower, a man called Troy Stolz. Troy used to work for the gambling lobby. An entity called...
I think that was the guy that helped them do the video to expose how easy it is to money launder at Australian casinos. So he's terminally ill, and that's why he's whistleblowing. It's like the reverse Walter White.
Called Clubs New South Wales. It was Troy's job to make sure venues were complying with anti-money laundering regulations. Spoiler alert, Arnold Schwarzenegger survives Running Man. Sorry, that was the wrong spoiler. These venues weren't complying, and it's very easy to launder money through poker machines in New South Wales. Check out this video we did with Boy about
It's so good. It's such a good video. It's so fucking funny. I legitimately was cackling watching that fucking video. It is so good.
So Troy leaked to federal parliament the fact that 95% of Clubs New South Wales venues weren't complying with money laundering regulations. Clubs New South Wales sued him, drained him of nearly $1 million in seemingly never-ending lawsuits. Troy had to sell his house. He then developed terminal cancer. So Christo interviewed him about the ordeal. Apparently that interview was criminally intimidating, enough for Clubs New South Wales to bring a private prosecution against Troy and I. So now I've made even more enemies, the gambling lobby and anyone that would use them to launder money. Sorry, after filming this, there was a few updates on this front. Clubs New South Wales fired their CEO, and then days later, John Barilaro tried to become Clubs New South Wales' new CEO. And Clubs New South Wales rejected him. By the way, this came out on the same day John was saying in court that he was too mentally ill.
What is he, a fucking 16-year-old girl on TikTok? What is happening? In what world can a middle-aged man who is a elected official keep using his fifis as an excuse to fucking get out of trouble? He likes to lick. It's true. He does like to lick.
To face his assault charges, but well enough to run Clubs New South Wales, one of the most scrutinised jobs in the country right now. Now you see, all these people are kind of just one group. They're the Avengers of dodgy c***s. And perhaps a less hilarious update, just a few days ago the charges against Troy were dropped and Troy's civil suits were settled with Clubs New South Wales. And so were mine. This is breaking news. My criminal charge has been dropped. So well done me. And Troy, I suppose.
Nice.
The lawyers, they did their bit, but I think, the big player was definitely me. More of this soon. This video is going on for a real long time. We also did some shit about cocaine, the opposition leader, $100 million security contracts in Papua New Guinea. Can't be go over that though. Watch it in your own time. What else? Allegations that the former defence minister went all eyes wide shut in Parliament House prayer room. Numerous journalists and politicians publicly admitting their desire to have me thrown in jail. The 7th richest man in Australia threatening to sue me. Numerous other property developers and dodgy bears.
I Did a Thing needs to make this guy a homemade gun for self-defense, bro. Listen, this guy needs to be fucking ready. This guy is like John Wick at the end of the movie where he gets excommunicated and everyone wants to kill him. That's what this guy basically is right now. I am scared for this dude. He made a turret. Yeah, the fucking face tracking turret. Should we watch? Okay, we're watching a bit of that video to finish off this segment. Because we need to check that out. They banned guns in Australia, unfortunately. I'm just excited to see what the turret's going to be, because right now I'm literally imagining an auto turret from Rust. I'm literally imagining that I Did a Thing made Friendly Jordies a Rust auto turret.
A longer enemies list than Richard Nixon. So, despite having my suspicions, I'm still not completely sure as to who done it. But enough of listing enemies, it's now time for my friends list. First of all, sorry to my neighbours and landlord, and future apology to whoever finds my corpse. It's going to be messy. I'm not going down without a fight.
That's what I've been saying. That this has literally been the point I've made the entire video. They're gonna come after him, and he has every right to fucking defend his life when they do. That was people in chat were losing their fucking shit about me saying that, and he literally goes on to make the same point in the video. Holy shit. Great minds think alike, I suppose.
Big thank you to Boy.
Great minds don't want to fucking die under state-sanctioned violence because a bunch of liberals say you have to just get stomped by the boot because the boot is special because it's from the state.
Boy, Pyrocynical, Moist Critical, Isaac Butterfield, Michael West, Kevin Rudd, Chris Mintz, Michael Daly, Peter Chris.
So as much of a cringe lord as Isaac Butterfield is, from my understanding, he is at least, like, anti the Australian, like, establishment to the extent that, he's come out in support of Friendly Jordies, from what I've heard, which is nice to hear. my understanding of Isaac Butterfield is that on most issues, like if he was an American, if Isaac Butterfield was an American, on like pretty much every single economic issue, he would be considered very left-wing, but he's a massive reactionary chud on a lot of social issues. Transphobic, chuddy when it comes to gay representation and racial representation, you know, all that shit. He's basically like a quartering style creator, but like marginally left-wing because Australian. So I guess rare Isaac Butterfield W here.
Now, my lawyers and the people that house me in the meantime. And most importantly, you, the viewer. No, actually just my patrons. You guys really helped us in our darkest time and kept the business running. Everything...
Listen, guys, we YouTubers have to pretend like we appreciate the people that don't send support, but you know, it's the ones who hit the like button and subscribe and you know, who donate. You guys are the real ones.
We make from Patreon goes right back to paying the staff and making production possible, so you literally kept us afloat. But for the rest of you, chuck us a few bucks. You get early access to videos, extra content, and the more we have, the bigger we...
By the way, make sure to go down into the pinned comment below in the comment section, which will be a link to this video. Cherry will make sure to put it there, I'm sure. And you'll be able to watch this original video. Make sure to go drop a like, subscribe, and comment as well that I sent you. We want to boost videos like this in the algorithm because as I may be American, but, you know, maybe some support from my audience helps to boost this in Australia, which is where it's most relevant. And, you know, that can always help. That can always help. What a good video, though. This is such a terrifying situation to be in, though. I'm glad the charges got dropped against him and those that he's associating with, but God, like, this can't be the end of the saga. Like, if they've stopped trying to take illegitimate legal action against him, and now it's the point of firebombing his house, I think we know what's next, right?
How you going? This is my mate's house, which, as you can see, doesn't work very well. And he doesn't know who burnt his house down.
Police are tonight hunting an arsonist who targeted the home of controversial Friendly Geordies YouTube blogger.
But I promised to help him by making a terrifying security system which would prevent anyone from coming near his house ever again.
Oh, it's not a proper gun.
Now, I've always wanted to make a horrible home security system, and Jordan's house getting burnt down was actually just a great excuse for me to pretend I'm helping by making something I was going to make anyway, a face-tracking paintball turret. And to start this build, I did what I always do, and went online and just found someone that had already made it, this child. I then stole their design and code without giving them any credit. Now the child is using two motors to move the Nerf turret up and down and side to side. And I reckon if I just upgrade the motors and wooden frame, it should work in the same way, even with a much heavier paintball turret. And to do this, I bought a much more expensive material that children can't get their hands on. Meth, which I pressed into white sheets.
What?
Then I took it to my only mate that hasn't had his house burnt down yet and used his custom-built CNC machine to cut out the frame. I don't think that was meth.
Pete, there's some people in chat who are going to be a big fan of that.
And while the machine is doing all the work, I'll tell you about Jordan's place being burnt down. Jordan, or Friendly Geordies, makes videos about Australian politics, a lot of the times about corruption within the government. And as you would expect, this has pissed quite a lot of really powerful people off. And recently, he spoke to a whistleblower named Troy, who revealed the extent of money laundering that happens in Australian clubs on poker machines, and how the people that are meant to regulate this choose to ignore it. And we actually demonstrated this by laundering $25,000 in a single day with Jordan. But after Jordan spoke to this whistleblower, his house mysteriously got firebombed, and that meant that Jordan had to go into hiding. But now Jordan's back.
So it seems more likely that it was the gambling, the him going against the gambling lobby in Australia is what got him firebombed.
And just released a video explaining what happened and who he thinks might be responsible. So you should go check that video out after this. But this also means he definitely needs security. And why would you rely on police when you have me? Am I able to just pull these off now?
Yeah.
No.
If you're able to.
I'm not strong.
Yeah,
Okay, once the pieces were all cut out, I put them together. This bearing...
I'm gonna skip ahead to when it's ready. It face tracks. So it shoots at that guy's face. At fucking John Barilino's, whatever the fuck his name is, face.
No.
Barliano or whatever.
And that seemed to work really well, and it was searching for real faces to shoot. So I put on one of the face shirts and got in front of the turret.
That's not him. That's someone else. That's the guy with the fucking gambling lobby. The guy with the criminal connections. Oh, that's a welt.
And that hurt so...
Oh. That's gonna be there for a while. Oh, you're not sleeping on that arm tonight. Or any night soon. Fuck. You know, this turret's gonna work really well because whoever the fuck gets shot by it is going to have big welts on them in perfect sphere shapes.
So much more than I thought it would. Maybe it was the rubber balls on bare skin or the fear factor of the autonomous robot, but I do not remember paintball hurting this much. So,
no, it's because the paintballs aren't exploding. They're rubber balls. And yes, paintballs do hurt about that hard if they don't pop on you. Have you guys ever had a paintball hit you on the back and not explode? It does about that.
Boys gave it a go. And Christo seemed quite calm and managed to face the turret directly.
Stop. It's not turning.
But for some reason, the robot ignored the face on his shirt and decided to kneecap Christo instead.
Try to shoot your knee.
Wait, it's developing intelligence. It's learning how best to incapacitate an assailant. Don't aim for the head, aim for the legs, and get them on the ground. It's learning.
Why did it kneecap you?
Before,
the insane thing is, this is not far off from being a Rust auto turret.
Shooting Alexa directly in the face.
Oh, careful, Alexa! Careful! Careful!
Then it was Jordan's turn with the Gladys
It's turning into Skynet.
And the robot, for some reason, really struggled to recognize her as a human. But eventually, it worked.
It all comes full circle. Did I not literally start by saying this Gladys bitch looks like a Titan? I said she doesn't look human, like she looks uncanny. And the literal fucking face tracking can't recognize her as a person.
It's just not...
And as you can see, it's actually quite hard to get hit. And to get the turret to actually shoot us, we had to flatten our shirts and walk very slowly towards the camera, which luckily is what most criminals are known to do before burning down people's houses.
True.
Why are yours so wilted?
And after
it's learning how to incapacitate by shooting the legs. God, this is... Wear some fucking armor. You know it shoots hard enough. You don't need to keep tanking these shots to your skin.
Repairing our battle wounds.
Those welts take a while to go away.
Which Christo had the most. We decided to run through a scenario. Jordan would lie down sleeping like he normally would at home, and we would try to sneak up to him with a petrol can and burn him alive. So now, enjoy Alexa, Christo and I being tortured. And I was hit first, but luckily my apron stopped me from feeling anything, and that almost seemed to piss off the turret, and it decided to aim lower, and once again, kneecapped Christo. And the turret was working really well this time, as we were moving around and jumping in front of the crosshair a lot. But mostly, it actually just traumatized us so much that we didn't want to go anywhere near it. But fortunately for us, it crashed. So we took the opportunity to pour petrol all over Jordan, killing him. And then,
I
to
love
make it
this ring of
worse,
fire,
just as his
yeah.
cameraman was asking Jordan if the turret made him feel safe,
Feel safe? No, not at all.
the turret crashed and shot Jordan in the neck.
I fell into a burning ring of fire. Down, 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 flames burn
So we decided
higher.
to try it one more time. But just before we did, I looked down at my phone and noticed 11 missed call and multiple messages from my mum, letting me know that the New South Wales police had showed up at her doorstep and was searching her house.
They're trying to stop the defense system from being activated.
Well, New South Wales Police Force, I think when you get to Friendly Geordie's house, you will find his security system is quite operational.
And I immediately thought it was because of this video I'm filming right now, but it turns out it wasn't. And they were actually there because of this video I made 5 years ago.
Fucking Australian gun control moment. Jesus Christ. Is this what you want for America, guys? Is this really what you want for America? You want to get contacted by the police because 5 years ago you made a video where you made a fucking tampon gun. Yes, I understand why lefties hate liberals so much now.
And after telling the boys what was happening at my mum's house,
There are police at my mum's house. I feel like I can't do anything else now.
Wait, I think they're leaving. Yeah, they're
Do you reckon they're leaving?
we all decided that my mum would be fine and we should continue with another group test. But this time, we decided to split up to give us better chances. And when we did this, the turret really didn't know what to do, and it was missing a lot more. And Alexa and I managed to not get hit at all, but Christo once again stayed in one place for too long.
I do need American progressives to understand how much of a losing issue you're like how hard you're taking the losing side by being like anti-gun. Like the Democrats would just sweep so hard if they were less anti-gun. It's part of what a lot of Bernie's appeal was that he was a lot less like open, or like I'm pretty sure he's pretty pro-gun, like especially for a Democrat. Bernie's pretty pro-gun. And that made him a lot more palatable to a lot of people that would have otherwise never voted Democrat. There were a fair amount of people who would have voted Bernie, I feel, but never voted for any other Democrat. Because for a lot of people, they align with Democrats on a lot of shit, almost everything, but it's the Democrats being at least seemingly so anti-gun that deters them from voting Dem or supporting the Dems. I at least personally know a few people that are in that position who are like, yeah, I mean, I really hate the Republicans, but the Democrats, like, they actively want to take away my firearms. They want to legislate my right to own these guns that I own out of existence, and I can't support that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I understand, like, to an extent why.
Before Alexa snuck around and burnt Jordan. And the robot once again failed to stop us. And maybe this was because the faces were...
My guns are more important than your right to exist. The problem with that mindset, Rico Rebelde, is that for a lot of Americans, that these are like their right to exist and their right to own a firearm are hand in hand. Like a lot of Americans, like conservative or not, believe that the only thing that lends any like weight to the Constitution or any of our rights is the idea that we would have the ability to defend them with violence, if necessary. That is what the vast majority of Americans believe. Well, not the vast majority, but a large majority of Americans believe in regards to guns, both left and right leaning.
Too small and kind of wrinkled.
I fucking hate the NRA though. That like the NRA needs to go. But as far as like American gun ownership, that's not going anywhere.
And hard to detect.
Oh, you got some good ones.
So we decided to give the robot a bigger target, and the boys drew John Barilaro's beautiful face on me.
I mean,
I like the little dickhead there. Like, it kind of looks like a tongue. I think it's supposed to be a tongue coming out there, but it looks a little bit like a dickhead.
Face on me.
Look, yeah, look, it looks like it's a little dickhead.
I mean...
Bro's ripped.
And I don't know if you can tell by the way I'm tensing and screeching like a goblin, but this is terrifying. Mostly because my mind is trying to keep me in one spot long enough for the turret to find the face. So it looks like it's working for this video. But at the same time, my body wants to run away in the opposite direction, which resulted in me doing this strange up and down jump.
He's gotta fight his instincts not to stand in front of the pain gun.
I'm done. That don't really hurt.
I do love that the nipples are pupils. Okay. I think we finished up with this segment. Oh, God. Australian politics is fucking insane, dude. I can't wait to visit.